Welcome to episode 2. I'm Vadd. We are making our way through ARK Reborn. We are on the center map, and so far we've discussed in episode 1 a couple of the mini tiers in this mod. We learned about the Brig Predator tier. We learned about the 4 different elemental tiers, the Drake tier, the Tech tier, the Ancient tier, and there's only a few more tiers that we probably want to know about as we make our way through this mod. If you see anything used in this series, the mod list is in the description of this video. You'll see here I've got a fog remover mod. We're on the center map and there seems to be a lot of fog. Now, I'm understanding that you need to run by this fog little Dodo guy every once in a while, but I'm also understanding that the fog on the center map is actually tied to the day and night cycle somehow, so it can't 100% remove the fog or the map doesn't function correctly. I'm not exactly sure how these maps work, but I do know that if you see a mod in here and go, what is that mod? Jump in the video's description and enjoy the mod list. We spawned in on what's supposed to be the easy zone, but we're in an overhaul mod. We made our way to kind of a starter base location, and now we're going to go and farm this top here. I thought about making a base up here. I like the spot, but I don't want to block these spawns, and I feel like this is pretty awesome. Like right outside of our starter zone, we can farm metal, obsidian, crystal pretty efficiently. It's not a very long run, and this is going to be key as we make our way further into this series. I want to talk a little bit about the corrupt tier. There's kind of 2 different variations of the corrupt tier. There's vanilla tames that you can evolve into the corrupt tier, and now you have a corrupted tame that's supposed to be a little bit stronger than it was when it was just a vanilla tame. And then there's these corrupt wilds, which we're going to farm for some resources a little later on. It's just another tier that's in the series and one you're going to want to know about. I think the corrupt tier is a little below or a little above the elemental tiers, depending on what elemental you actually pull. You know, I think a corrupt Pteranodon might be a little bit better than, say, a snow Pteranodon, but I think it would definitely be worse than a flame Pteranodon. Some of the early game objectives we're working on in the AG Reborn mod is to get our hands on the Workbench. It has its own unique workbench. You do need to get some metal smelting to make it, but this workbench is kind of your bread and your butter. It's really a staple for progressing through this mod. You will need to put it on a foundation. I think it looks pretty cool. I like the Anvil vibe. I like the big Rex on top. I like kind of the boss trophies as well. And in here, there's lots of important things you can craft. Actually, lots. I could have just made the entire episode on this workbench. But the one thing we're really working on are these prime tools. It's the same thing as a metal tool. You know, you can still get your crystal and whatnot, but they don't have any durability. It's a really nice quality of life item that if we can work on getting our hands on those prime tools, that's an absolutely fantastic early game objective to be working on. So in episode 1, we learned about those prime hide and prime cloth armor, how there's no durability, and those are some really good starting out armors to get your hands on. As we move through the early game, we want to get our hands on these prime tools. Notice the prime tools needed 2 special resources. We needed metal ingots and we needed some ancient hides. You can craft both of those in the workbench we just put down for the ARK Reborn mod. It's just that simple. They're also pretty common drops, but we have to fight some things that are a little above our weight class right now. If we can find a prime alpha Dodo, that would be something we could be trying to get our hands on to get some of that ancient hide. It's a pretty common drop in the mod, but right now early game it's a little tough to get. Another thing to note is that the supply drops are also revamped with the mod, so it's actually worth, hey, here's another look at the poison Pteranodon. We still need to knock it out the tamement, and we haven't worked on knockout supplies, but I did mention last episode that vanilla Pteranodons are also passive tames, so you want to go ahead and keep taming flyers because we're going to lose a few. It's pretty dangerous out there. Hey, not only does ARK Reborn here remap the supply loot crate drops, but there's a whole bunch of them that seem to spawn right here by us. There's usually at least 3 of them. Oh, look. Okay, a flame raptor. So this is our first look at a flame raptor, and I think it's going to be a little more, okay, it has the old school raptor pounce. That's kind of cool. And even with our prime hide armor, that's unique armor set, looks like it could still pretty much tear us apart. So we kind of have 2 options if we want to get these prime tools. We can either craft the ancient hide and steel ignats in this bench, or we can go out and try and fight some of the wild dinos to get it. I kind of want to do some exploring. I kind of want to run around and get a couple more loot drops. I know that we could get those tools a little earlier. I feel like there's a little bit of an overspawning thing going on. Just seems like there's a lot of fish in this little area, and maybe that's just me, but hey, with the loot drops, it's worth going around and picking them up as you can. They have some pretty good stuff in them. Not only do they have good stuff in them, but they spawn here regularly. And there's a Giga. So this is, again, kind of that easy spawn zone. You really don't want to hang around in the spawn zones. And again, there's a Tech Quetzal over there. And if we can get this drop quick, that would be optimal. I think that getting all this kibble in this drop is going to solve any of our taming problems. Whoa, whoa. It's going to solve any of our taming problems. Okay, there are those prime alpha dodos again. I really think we can try and fight them. And if I'm wrong, well, we'll just, run back over here and get our stuff. I mean, we're just across the river here. But if I'm right, this would definitely be some... Okay, so there's the Giga. So it looks like we're getting the drop from killing those prime alpha dodos, even though the Giga killed it. So all we have to do is kind of follow the Giga around and avoid the flame raptor. Is that the same raptor? Wow, and we missed with our bola. Nice. We're just super... Yep. Okay. Well, look, if we just follow the Giga around, we'll just keep getting the drops. It kind of lowers the difficulty quite a bit, as long as you can not get eaten by, the Flame Raptor, which aggroed onto us much quicker than the Giga. I guess since we can just get drops for nothing, we should just keep following that Giga around. I mean, it's pretty much a top-tier predator. I would expect it to just eat everything on the beach. These Prime Alpha Dodos aren't very smart. Don't let that stop you from taking them down, and they can be bullied. And since we can bola them, we can just spear them. Now we are getting more of that ghost damage. I did read the comments that tried to convince me it was retaliation damage. We don't take any damage, and it doesn't always show that we're getting the damage when we're hitting these creatures, so I'm not sure why that's not the case. I'd like to see it in the status effects, kind of in the bottom right corner, like you would with the regular bleed or gnashed effect. Then I would know for sure that it's a feature and not a bug. But until that gets kind of sorted out, it still looks like a bug to me. And maybe this prime hide armor is just too strong for this this poor prime alpha dodo. There's actually two different alpha tiers in the mod. This is the prime alpha tier you're looking at right here, and then there's the alpha creatures. The prime alpha tier, these prime alphas, they cannot be tamed. We kill them for drops. The alpha creatures, they look almost identical. They can be tamed, and we're going to work on that as we continue through the series. The prime alpha dodo is not only not very smart and can be bullied, it's super slow. We can just walk backwards and spear it. You bring enough spears, you'll take it down. I think they have an absolutely ridiculous amount of health regen. The good news is there's now an Indominus Rex in the same stretch of beach, so we'll just let the Indominus Rex finish off the last of that health. Hey, check out these raptors. They're called Utah raptors. I have no idea why. If you know why they're called Utah raptors, please comment now. I'd like to know what the story is there. It's a regular raptor. You knock it out and you put the stuff in it and it likes it. It likes meat. It likes kibble. It's not too tricky of a tame. They can be bullied. And I thought we were in trouble here, but turns out even with the old school raptor pounce, this prime hide armor is absolutely ridiculous overpowered. Like, we just take no damage, and this is just absolutely insane. I really thought it would kill us here, but I'm just clueless apparently. Another thing to know about is the elite tier. There's a whole bunch of dinos that are in this elite tier. It's kind of actually like a bottom tier. It's mostly creatures you wouldn't normally bother to tame. They kind of have this white-red glow around them. So here's an elite dillo. A lot of them are passive tames. This one just happens to be a knockout tame, but it just kind of makes these creatures you wouldn't normally use in ARK a little more useful. I think they're supposed to be kind of like the tame you go for first, but they seem to just never be around when I need them, and they seem to die off really quick. I think it's because they're such a bottom tier, but there's actually quite a few creatures that are listed as an elite tier tame, and a lot of them are just creatures you just don't mess with, right? So there's an Oviraptor, a Mosachops, a Dodo. There's that big mosquito, the Meganera, the Mesopithecus, a Mosachops. There's a Zomdodo. There's a whole bunch of creatures that are in that elite tier that aren't bad first tames. In this series, we just lucked out and had good Pteranodons in our area, so we tamed those first to get off the ground. But if you can get your hands on an elite tier, that would also be another tier in the mod and another good beginning tame. Have a little fun, go back and rewatch watch this fight, we just don't always take that ghost damage. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. Any way you swing it, you can take down these prime alphas with, oh, this time we got nashed. Okay, so don't attack it from the front. Apparently it randomly attacks you for half your health, but the prime hide armor just regened us back in a couple of seconds. This is just the wildest of mod. I'm just never sure which way is up. Hey, look, you can kill these prime alpha dodos with the spear. Best as I can tell, that these would be faster and more efficient to tame with something other than a spear, but this is a super low risk fight. I mean, we're going to kill this thing as long as nothing interrupts us, and we're going to get our hands on some of those black pearls. We're trying to get an evolution tribute, an evo tribute. You get those evolution tributes from killing prime alphas. The prime alpha dodo is the least likely thing to take it down, but we will get some ancient hide, so it's worth doing. I thought we should test out how overpowered the prime hide is by diving right into the sharks. Don't forget that the lead sickness in this mod is also aggressive to not just a raft, but you. They hit super hard, you can still scrape the meat, but this prime hide armor is so ridiculously overpowered. There's a set of prime scuba. I don't know why we'd bother to get the scuba, since the oxygen on this armor, we don't lose any oxygen. And they're hitting us, like we're getting damage dealt to us. You can see the damage numbers, but we're not taking any real damage. Like, you can see our health kind of goes down, it just pops right back up. I mean, this armor just seems so overpowered. I don't know why we'd even go and get the scuba, and there's no tooltips on it. There's nothing that definitively says like what this armor actually does, and it's just basic hide and fiber. The prime cloth armor is just about as good as well. If you take the armor off, you're dead. You know, there goes all your health, there goes our oxygen, and we're out cold. I really suggest getting your hands on that armor as quick as you can. I added a mod to this series that says in big letters discontinued on it, and has not been updated in several years. The last series we completed on this channel was on Dino Overhaul X, and we lived in a cave the whole time. I thought it was time to try and do the most opposite thing of living in a cave as I could possibly do. And with this mod, we get this kind of cool party bench. And in the party bench, if you can craft yourself some coins, you can craft yourself some small floating islands. I just thought it'd be really cool to have a sky base. I think from now on, I just only will respond to the title Sky Captain. I'm pretty sure that's how it goes if you lived in a sky base. Listen, we're out here on our metal runs, and we saw some crazy health bars, but we also saw our first flame Pteranodon. Remember, in those 4 elemental tiers we talked about in episode 1, that flame tier is the top tier of the elemental tiers. It's over the elite tier, it's over the corruption tier. That flame tier is really great, and they're passive tames on these Pteranodons. Taming this Pteranodon would pretty much, you know, significantly increase our ability to progress in this mod. I mean, it's just a really great tame, and we picked up all those great taming supplies from the supply drops. Now, there is a prime alpha Dilophosaur on this island. This prime alpha Dil I thought was coming for me. It's not very aggressive. I'm not sure if it's supposed to not be aggressive. I thought that was kind of weird, but it doesn't bother us at all. Now, that doesn't stop the vanilla Dilophosaur from trying to pick a fight with us. It's going to come flying in and get real feisty, but the prime alpha Dillo just doesn't bother us at all. Now, it does seem to hit us for more damage than we've ever seen before, so clearly the prime hide armor isn't the best armor in the mod, but you gotta wonder why it was not aggressive. Hey, the floating island mod is ridiculously expensive. I don't know how you can adjust this, but it really is going to take a lot of farming to get these coins. I think the small island is absolutely massive, especially as a solo player, and I wanted to build not only just somewhere different, but there's a couple of spots on the center that are actually maybe good building spots. So we're here by the blue obelisk, and I want to be in a position where I can kind of farm that top of the kind of the Batman head, I think it's called there, where we did the metal run earlier in this episode. I'm gonna just put this floating island just kind of over in this corner. I mean, nothing should really spawn around here. I think in ARK Reborn, it's really important to get off the ground. Wherever you make your main headquarters, you need to be off the ground. I wanted to build maybe on some of the ruins that are in the center map, almost right in the center of the map. There's a couple of cool spots. I just don't trust the Dino's AI in this mod. I'm not sure what's going on, but they just don't seem to be real consistent or real smart, and I'd just rather not get my base wrecked. So I'm taking arguably an even larger risk to use a completely discontinued, not supported mod, but I just thought this would be really cool. And maybe later in this series, you're going to see me really sad and regretting the fact that my base fell out of the sky. However, for now, I've just got this super cool floating island. Way too expensive to make, but it's cool. I mean, I think it's cool. Maybe you don't. Maybe you hate it. This is a great time to comment if you like the floating islands, if you like the location. I mean, we could set these up kind of around the map in key spots and just have little, I mean, they're not mobile, they don't move, but it's pretty flat up here. I mean, it's not completely flat, but it's just an open area to build, and we can see the whole map. I mean, the center's so small. There's the redwoods, okay. There's, you know, most of the obelisks. We can see just about the center of the map. I mean, you can see not only just the center of the map, but you can see the volcano, you can kind of see the snow biome. I mean, you can really just see the whole map from here. I just really like the view, and, you know, I spend a lot of time kind of going back and forth on farming runs and on, you know, breeding runs and whatever. So I like the spot. Maybe you don't. Maybe there's a better spot to put down a big floating island, but we want to talk a little bit about the boss tiers. We've almost got through all the tiers in this mod, and if you pop in, you can see that there's a vanilla boss tier. So these are supposed to be like the regular ARK bosses. They just are supposed to spawn in and roam the map. Those are like your desert titans, your ice titans. I mean, all of them are supposed to show up, apparently. In addition, there's your Uber tier. The Uber tier are 7 bosses. There's your Drago Wyvern, your Broodmother, Manicore, Megapithecus, Dodo Wyvern, Dodo Rex, and Dragon. And then there's the Ghost tier, which are the exact same as the Uber tier. They just look like Ghost. And then kind of above those 3 tiers, I think, is the Mega Boss tier, which is the exact same creatures in the Uber tier and the exact same creatures in the Ghost tier, but you can't tame them. So you can tame Uber and Ghost tier bosses. You can't tame the Vanilla tier. You cannot tame the Mega Boss tier. And then it seems like above the Mega Boss tier are these Warden bosses, and kind of above the Wardens are the Robos and the War Chiefs. And then above that, I think, is the tameable tier of Celestial, and above that, there's a super boss. Keep watching the series. I hope you're enjoying it. Apparently, we're a little bit conniving up here on our island, but hey, we're gonna make through most all of these tiers. If it's not all making sense right now as I describe it, I hope as you continue to watch and enjoy this series, it'll make sense as you can see it visually. Our Flame Pteranodon is so cool. I love the fire coming off it. I like it next to the Shock Pteranodon, and when we compare them with the vanilla Pteranodons we've been working on taming, you can see that they're around the same levels, but that vanilla Pteranodon is significantly behind the Shock Pteranodon in stats, and the Shock Pteranodon is way behind the Flame Pteranodon. There's a lot more to unpack in this mod, and I hope you are excited to journey through it with me. If you like the stuff, subscribe now. Right now, push the subscribe button. Thank you, and if you learned something or enjoyed this video, share it with a friend. If you are new here, please consider subscribing. If you have joined and enjoyed before, welcome back. If you would like to see more quality content, please consider joining me in supporting the channel through Patreon and utilizing the affiliated links. Thanks!